Good evening, or wherever you are, whatever time it is now, to the velocity of now Annex number 7, the supplemental editorials and commentaries for the main show, which takes place on the realitybytesradio.network every Wednesday night at 11 to midnight Irish UK time and 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time in the USA. Today I want to talk about the discovery of Pluto, and particularly Pluto's relationship to the writer H.P. Lovecraft. Now, for some reason, prior to the flyby of the New Horizons spacecraft past Pluto, I think it was on the 14th of July 2015, which is now the 21st of July 2015, and sent back those amazing pictures. There was a growing sense and interest in H.P. Lovecraft's writing in myself, a revival of such after many years of not being that much into, I've forgotten about it. I read several of the stories when I was younger and always had a great admiration for his work. But I had not been listening to or reading the story. I don't have time to read anymore, so I listened mainly to old radio broadcasts of the stories and things like audiobooks. Many of them are superb ones available on YouTube. At the time, I did not know that the New Horizons spacecraft was coming to take pictures of close-up shots of Pluto, which are shown to be quite remarkable, but also kind of scary in some ways and disturbing. Now, how this ties into H.P. Lovecraft is that Lovecraft, a lot of the stories came from nightmares of a planet on the edge of the solar system where these monsters and beings came from that entered his consciousness through his own nightmares. And the discovery of Pluto in 1930 let Lovecraft state that he believed that the planet that he invented himself in the Cthulhu mythos, Yugoth, where the beings came from, would be found on the edge of the solar system, and there enough it was found in 1930, just as Lovecraft had said. Now, that's interesting enough, okay? That's interesting enough that happened. But Pluto was also given the name Pluto, which means the Lord of Darkness or the King of the Underworld. Now, if you think of underworld or darkness in the mythological sense, you think of the subconscious. In the nightly shows, the weekly shows I'm doing on Reality Bites Radio, we've been looking at the idea of dreams and consciousness infecting reality, and we've been running a dream and consciousness kind of experiment. And yet, here we have the manifestation of the dream of the writer H.P. Lovecraft, not only coming through in 1930, when he speculated that Yugoth was probably Pluto, but also the name of Pluto, and now its discovery again, just as the consciousness with myself and a few of my friends as well regarding the writings of Lovecraft has risen, has increased, or shall we say been restored. What is going on? Well, you have guys like the Sync Press, and you have people dealing in synchronicities and synchromisticism who look for these connections and these kinds of links. And I think there's something deep going on here. There's something about this that means something. I know it's a strange thing to say, but there's a lot of people have an impending sense of dread at the moment. And for the first time in years, I've agreed with Alex Jones that there is a sense of something is coming. It's hard to put your finger on it. And this was all taking place right before the New Horizons, which is an interesting name for a spacecraft, had flown by Pluto and taken those photographs. Lovecraft's own neuroses, shall we call it that led to his genius, was very much based on a kind of a parochial fear, a fear of foreigners, a fear of things that were outside the comfortable upper middle class lifestyle that he grew up with in Providence, in Rhode Island, and his phobia regarding foreigners and things like that along with his nightmares, it led to this unique insight into storytelling that he created, where there was never really a conclusion to many of the stories. You were kind of left in a state of disturbed limbo at the end of the stories. And that's how I feel looking at these images and photographs of Pluto that have been recently sent back. There's something about that planet that does not sit well with me in these pictures. And it also ties in at the same time that these Google Deep Dream images are all over the internet, where basically the artificial intelligence creates a portrait of you or something based on your Google searches. And lots of people have been telling me they've been doing these images themselves and looking at them and not thinking they're cool. In fact, they're actually feeling quite disturbed by them. And many people are also shaken by the images too. They often have nightmares. They just don't feel right. There's something sickly and ugly about them. Now this happens at the same time New Horizons is flying by Pluto, which is the lord of the underworld, which was he featured heavily in the work of H.P. Lovecraft and the nightmares of these cults that worship the ancient ones, the old ones, these sort of primordial ancient monsters that lived at the bottom of the oceans and would one day return. Now, looking at that in terms of metaphor, well, I don't actually expect a gigantic, squid-like monster to come out of the oceans and attack us, but we could be dealing with a kind of a synchronistic upswelling of the darkness of the mass of human consciousness coming to the surface. And all the triggers have fallen into place. And what also makes that interesting as well is that Pluto is an interesting planet in that its orbital path around the sun, it comes within the orbit of Neptune. So it actually becomes closer to the Earth than Neptune. And we know Neptune is the god of the sea. So we have another synchronistic aspect to it there, to the whole Lovecraftian, the whole idea of these monsters coming from the sea, these new horizons, all merging together at the same time. This Google Dream, and remember everything. Dreams are deep dream. There's a strong sense of a consciousness resonance dealing with the repressed or the dormant aspects of the human psyche below the surface. And it's almost like all these things have come to a head with the New Horizon flyby of Pluto. You glue all these synchronistic ideas together and you have something that is quite disturbing. And the more I think about it, the more disturbed I have become. Now, tomorrow night's show, I'll be talking about the first of the results that have come in from the dream survey. When I asked people to send in their dream stories, and it's interesting how there's a sense of subtle disturbance. Very few people wrote to me saying they had pleasant dreams, almost none. All of them were disturbing dreams, but a low level. There was very few major nightmares. There was a sense of impending unease. At the same time, we're all feeling this. Many of us are feeling this. The weather's not right at the moment. It's a very strange summer weather-wise. Many people are telling me they're having the most vivid dreams in years. And again, they're not particularly pleasant dreams. They're often dreams that are very much like a Lovecraftian story, where the narrative is not fully resolved at the end. It just leaves more questions that are actually even more disturbing than what's been portrayed or outlined in the narrative of the story. And I get that feeling with the New Horizon pictures of Pluto. I don't know. I love astronomy. I love astrophysics. I love space exploration. I always get excited when a new planet is discovered, or when a new photo, especially new photographs of the outer planets comes in. And there's something about Pluto's surface. It looks like an animal or something. It has this almost crocodilian type mountain ranges across its surface that look like skin. And remember, Pluto was downgraded from a planet to a minor planet a few years ago. And so there was, and then also Pluto in the astrological sense is based on the idea of it purging and cleaning out all the hidden garbage, all the repressed garbage. And I believe it came into dominance in an astrological sense around 2008. And here we're probably right in the middle of this purging. For such a small planet, and to be so obscure, and on the outside of the universe, on the outside of the solar system, it has in this century alone cast a tremendous cultural, social, and psychological shadow across the human condition. And I do feel now that there's something going on here, that the old ones are about to reveal themselves in some form. But what they are, I don't know. The narrative will probably result in one more insight, but will also leave us disturbed because we're getting one less answer. Thank you.